Hello, hello. I think I made it. Happy Monday, everyone. Wow, it is Monday. In Kansas City, where I live, it is lockdown eve at midnight tonight. The city of Kansas City and a lot of our surrounding areas have given us a 30-day stay home window. So it's kind of been kind of interesting prepping to stay home for 30 days. And yeah, the grocery stores and things will be open. But I wish they could stay home too. So anyway, hi everyone. I am Crystal Webster, founder and chief Solace officer of Sharing Solace. But more importantly than that, more importantly than sharing solace, more important than now being an author of Confessions of a Griever, I am Madeline's mother. And that is really, truly what is most important to me. And I think all moms, whether they look up or down to see their children, take that very seriously. So first of all, I want to thank you for being here today. We are living in a wild and crazy time, and I know that a lot of people can get overwhelmed. And if you're like me, who already kind of suffers from, hi Sarah, kind of already suffer from, the grieving process and depression and anxiety, right now is just multiplying that and exaggerating that anxiety by 1,000%. And we are basically required to physically isolate ourselves. But we don't need to also mentally and emotionally isolate ourselves. So hopefully these lives are providing the opportunity to start a conversation and realize that we can, still be truthful and real and authentic in what we are doing and how we're functioning day to day, even though we can't physically be within 6 feet of each other. So that's really what I'm going for today, is just to kind of keep some normalcy, allow people to realize that, they're not alone. Even though they might be physically alone, they're not mentally and emotionally alone. And kind of go about my day doing my things as I normally would. So hopefully that comes across, and hopefully you're trying to do the same as well. So if you're here, yay, thank you so much. I'm so excited. Today's going to be a tough one for me. It is, I read through it again this morning, and just reading through it started to bring a tear to my eye. So I hope that I can get through it okay for you today. And yesterday, Sunday, a very uniquely special person in my life passed away. So I'm having a lot of complex emotions and feelings, and then you have that, and then tying into the, well, I can't hug people, I can't, is there even going to be a service? It's kind of weird, and I think that a lot of us are suffering from that right now, those thoughts and feelings, whether our tragic loss was yesterday or a decade ago, or whatever it is. So I just want you to know that it's okay to have complex and compounded feelings, and I'm experiencing that right now, just with coronavirus and passing of someone. And he was in his 90s. He lived a good long life, but that does not negate my grief, and that does not make it any easier or better that he's no longer in my life. So I just felt like I needed to say that. So that was kind of my side note today. If you're here, please share some love. Let me know you're here. Say hi, wave. If you're watching the replay, let me know you're watching the replay too, just because, I kind of like to know I'm not doing this for myself. Although, next side note, I have found that this has allowed me to get up and function in the morning. When you work for yourself and you work from home, I have like, if I don't have any meetings, why get up? Why take a shower? Why get out of bed? So this has really given me a purpose and a meaning for when things are so messed up right now. And I hope that, watching this has helped you a little bit as well, and will continue to help you maybe, and maybe giving you something to do during the middle of the day when, everybody kind of hits that slump. So here we go. All right. So I told you a little bit about me. I have 2 favors for you. One, if you're watching this and find it valuable, I'd love you to share it and tag someone that you know and love, that could get some extra support and extra love out of it. I'm also, with kind of the lockdown, I have the opportunity to spend more time on important projects that I want to, because I'm not running all over town. And I am really looking to build up the Sharing Solace resources section. So if you know someone, if maybe you are that someone, maybe you have a resource that has helped you through your grief journey, I want to know about them. And I want to be able to include them on the Sharing Solace website. So those are kind of my 2 asks. Let me see. I did take note. I have notes so that I don't forget, because I get off on a tangent and keep going. So yeah. I think that's it. So let me introduce the book to you. Again, I'm Crystal Webster, and I am the author of Confessions of a Griever, turning a hot mess into a haute message, laughable lessons for when life just sucks. I thought this might be a fun way to pass the time and kind of go from there. So the book in general it's about grief, so it's not particularly kid-friendly. This is for adults. There is an occasional 4-letter word, artfully crafted 4-letter word. So just, be prepared. I don't believe there are any today, but there are those words. I like to say frickin'. And yeah, I hope this just starts a conversation. If you have a thought or a feeling with what is being said, what I'm reading to you today, please drop it in the comments. Let's start a conversation about this, because it's hard. It's hard to talk about. So, how we're going to do this whole thing. Last time, you picked the story that we're going to read today. At the end of today, we're going to pick the story that we're going to read next time, which I think is super fun. You don't get the luxury of seeing how it's laid out in the book, so you don't realize we're going back and forth and back and forth, and we start at the front and we go to the back and then we flip back. But I think it really kind of shows how grief works. I mean, grief is not linear. Grief is not start at page 1 and end at page 100 and you're done. You're constantly flipping around and think you're towards the end and you get pushed back to the beginning and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to keep doing this until I run out of, we run out of interest or I run out of content. And at some point, one of those things will happen. So I think that, let me just look real quick. Sorry. Yeah, so I think we're ready to go. Let me read today's story, which is Anger, my personal story. The 15 days between the specialist's official diagnosis that our angel's birthday was a blurry whirlwind. Meeting with doctors multiple times a week to make sure that our baby wasn't dead just yet. Meeting with hospice workers to get everything in order for when that time did come. Spending the few precious moments we did have with our little one, getting to know them and their little and yet so very big personality, and trying to make the necessary arrangements as we could. We now knew that our happy and healthy request was not going to be granted, so we wanted to know as much about our child as we possibly could while we still had that opportunity. We asked to know our baby's sex. She was a little girl. We named her Madeline Elizabeth Webster. Her name was special to us and was the name we had picked long before our diagnosis. We spent hours just talking to her about how much we loved her, wanted her, how we couldn't wait to see her, how we knew she was feisty like her mama and smart like her daddy. We told her about all the plans we had for her and read her all the Dr. Seuss books that we and she could handle. She loved Green Eggs and Ham, and her daddy would read it to her over and over again, all in one sitting. In true daddy form, each time the book was read, words were left out and pages skipped entirely, to the point at the end the book just became, ham? Nah. Ham? No. Ham? Okay. Madeline's birthday came 6.5 weeks early via a classic C-section on May 19th, 2010. She was surrounded by only love and was barely put down her entire life. The doctors did insist we get her weight, which required her to be set down long enough for the scale to register. Her whole extended family was there to welcome this beautiful little girl into the world. With her cute button nose and her mama's blue eyes, I felt so lucky and honored that she was able to stay alive long enough for everyone to meet her. She was the epitome of perfection. Now, granted, I'm a little bit biased. 10 fingers and 10 toes. The only minor indication that anything was wrong was that her head was extra large, for all those smarts that her daddy gave her. We loved her and we loved her and we loved her like there was no tomorrow, because there was no tomorrow. We gave her all the love a mother and a father could give their child, and we squeezed it into 8 short hours. The only wish I had during those fleeting 8 hours was that I could have been just a little bit more coherent. My C-section led to massive amounts of morphine to manage the pain, coupled with severe dehydration, only ice chips, and 16 days without sleep. My memories of my daughter were an entangled mess of actual memories and made-up memories I put together from pictures, videos, and stories from others. The next day, May 20th, 2010, we said goodbye to our baby girl for the last time. In the early morning hours before sunrise, she died, smiling and cooing in my arms. Even after death, our darling daughter was so loved. The grandmas shopped for her funeral outfit and personalized it with her name. Grandpa, a woodworker, built her a tiny little coffin, and her mommy and daddy worked tirelessly to plan a meaningful and special service. For someone so extraordinary, it was the very least that we could do. Her service was my final outward act of love for my daughter. It had to be special, and I stretched myself beyond the capability to make it so, both physically and mentally. The day after her services, I was put on bed rest again because my C-section incision had reopened, and I had to have a home health nurse come to the house 2 times a day to pack the wound so that it didn't get infected. Blah. While it is absolutely amazing and a little bit disgusting what the human body can do, I felt vindicated in my pain. If I could prove I was suffering physically, I was allowed to continue to suffer emotionally. The longer I was outwardly suffering, the longer I could continue to suffer inside. In many ways, I never wanted my scars to heal. But that led to its own unique challenges. Because I couldn't physically do much, I was only allowed to climb the stairs once a day to shower, if absolutely necessary. My mind had plenty of time to wander and go down that rabbit hole. No matter how much staring at the TV, it just couldn't be prevented. What did I do wrong? Why was I cursed? Why am I unable to do the one thing that women are biologically intended to do? I made up story after story about how karma had come back around, or I'd spent too much time mourning the loss of my aunt and uncle. Or set the computer on my belly one too many times, or how I ate tortilla chips with salsa and mac and cheese. I had the chicken or the egg conversation with myself 1,000,000 times a day. If everything happens for a reason, then did Madeline die because Kent and Jane needed someone to care for? Or because I knew I was pregnant with Madeline before the accident? Did I kill Kit and Jane because Madeline needed someone to care for her when her mama couldn't? These unanswerable questions still haunt me to this day. After the traditional Catholic funeral service, we felt it was best to have our Madeline cremated. Feel free to judge away. She continues to this day to live on our nightstand with her pink stuffed turtle, and I say goodnight to her every night. When we travel and can't take her with us, she and the pink turtle go to Grandma's house. While I know not everyone agrees with our decision for cremation, I just couldn't bring myself to bury her in the cold, hard ground. The ground is for grandparents. It is for people who have lived long lives and are able to take care of themselves, both on earth and in the afterlife. Madeline is just a baby. She needs to be with her mama, and I need to take care of her, but I couldn't do that if she was far away, 6 feet underground. So it felt like months later, long after my incision is healed and I was able to drive myself around town again, we received the autopsy results. I still don't know if it is in fact standard protocol to perform an autopsy on all babies that die, or if that was just what I was told, and I didn't have any reason to not believe them. There was really only 2 possibilities for Madeline's death. She was a fluke. Oh my God, how I hate that word. Something unexplained happened during her development that caused her issues. Sometimes that happens, and the remedy would be to just try again and hope the same fluke didn't happen the second time. Or she had a genetic condition passed to her by one of her parents. The condition did not allow her to develop properly in the room and would always be present. The remedy would be to just try again or have medical intervention, depending on the official medical condition, how much heartbreak her parents could handle, and what science was capable of. At first, we were adamant in only knowing Madeline's medical issues, if those issues were genetic, and what would be done, if anything, to keep them from happening to future siblings. If it was a genetic issue, we absolutely, positively did not want to know anymore. We did not want to know who, if either of us, carried the genetic condition that killed our daughter. Our reason being is that we couldn't change genetics. We couldn't change the past. And it would only potentially foster resentment and blame between my husband and I. Turns out there were many issues. Those issues were genetic, and medical intervention was the only real way to reduce, but not eliminate, the chance of it happening again. The best, and really the only option of giving Madeline siblings was in vitro fertilization, where the non-viable embryos could be weeded out through pre-implantation testing. The doctors made it all sound so easy. I didn't have a problem getting or staying pregnant the first time with Madeline. The embryos were the issue, and science could fix that. The eggs were scrambled. The chicken wasn't defective. It wasn't until much later in the infertility process did I actually do the math and realize we had less than a 6% chance of having a healthy, happy baby. You get a better score on a school exam just by writing your name. That is what I'd always thought I'd wanted, and what I'd been taught to want growing up. You graduate college, get married, buy a house with a white picket fence and a dog, have babies, grow old, then you die. So we dove head first into our first of 3 rounds of IVF, not batting an eye or even thinking about the process and its implications. Now, side note, as a 1980s and 1990s kid, Mr. Rogers told me growing up if I just had to try hard enough at anything, and I'd eventually get what I wanted. And I'd always gotten what I wanted. So why would this be any different? I mean, I was elected mayor of Exchange City in 5th grade by my classmates the first year at a new school. So we found the best doctors money could buy in the Midwest, and we got to work. And that is my personal story of anger. And so now we have 3 options of how we want to proceed tomorrow. All right, here we go. Number A, we'll call it A. Want to know what happens next? Surprise! It's a baby. Psych, psych, psych. Read Bargaining. Bargaining, my personal story. Want to know how to really piss me off? Just do this one thing and you'll be on my list, buddy. Read The Kvetching Sphere. Or C. And now is probably a good time to remind you that any loss is grievable. It doesn't have to be a dead baby or your house burning down. Read Any Loss is Grievable for the reminder. So we have option A, which is Bargaining, the edition, my personal story. So we'll just continue on with this story. B, Kvetching Sphere, which is a very interesting concept that I learned about through my grief journey. Or C, Any Loss is Grievable. So please vote. Let me know what you want to hear tomorrow, and the majority wins. Whoever gets the most votes is what we will what we'll read tomorrow. So I think I have a few little closing notes just because I can, more than anything. All right, so we talked through the choices. A is Bargaining, my personal story. B is Kvetching Sphere, or C is Any Loss is Grievable. So please make sure to vote. Even if you can't join in tomorrow, that's totally cool. I just want to know what I should. I don't want to have to pick. That's the thing. I see a few votes. That's awesome. But I don't want to have to pick. I don't want to do any more work. So yeah, I'm seeing some votes. That's awesome. Now, if you haven't already, head over to sharingsolace.com/book. That tells you all about the whole story of Confessions of a Griever. And it gives you the opportunity to get the first 2 stories in writing so you can actually read them. You can, if you want to go directly to the stories and you don't want to see the little video or the more information about the book itself, you can go to sharingsolace.com/confessions preview. But in either way, I would love for you to request the stories, and they'll show up in your email address. And then I get to remind you every day, a couple hours before we do this, that we're going live. And so you can tune in and watch the stories live with us and interact and all that good stuff. So all of these are saved either in the Facebook page under videos. I put them in what do they call them? Playlists. They're also in IGTV, so you can rewatch them if you're not here live. That's totally cool. But it's definitely more fun to do it live, at least for me, because then I don't feel like I'm quite so alone. And I can interact. So yeah. So yes, please be sure to go to sharingsolace.com/book, where you can request the first 2 stories in writing for you. And I will remind you every day just with a quick little email saying, hey, remember, we're going live. And we'll go from there. So let me check one more time. I really don't have a very good, yeah. So tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see what you pick to read, and that is what we will read. And then we'll pick a new story for the next day. It's that easy, easy peasy. So until tomorrow, I hope that you stay happy and healthy. Healthy is the big one right now. I hope that you can find the opportunity to get grateful. And I will see you soon. Mwah. See you tomorrow, everyone.